The question is that the motion be agreed to.
Mr Speaker.
I call the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr Speaker, as we said in the first reading of this bill, and as appears from the vote on the first reading of this bill, there is unanimity, one of those unique times in this House when we all agree. This bill, as the I presume the Acting Minister of Revenue or whatever has said, is that the bill ensures that people don't have to pay tax on donations they have received excuse me, from employers to help them in the wake of the earthquakes. And my colleague Ruth Dyson raised an interesting question which we'll be pursuing in the committee stage, because under the law in respect of EQC, there are, I think now 4, but I may be incorrect, 4 registered or recognised earthquake events. The 4th of September, obviously, Boxing Day, the 22nd of February, and I think in amongst that there was certainly, I recall it because it was a jolt, thank you, a 5.3 on a Saturday evening, which I think also, but I could be wrong, is now recognised as an official earthquake event. The question then arises out of this, and we don't inquire out of any malice or disrespect. We want this piece of legislation to be as robust and effective as possible. And my colleague Ruth Dyson raised the issue that it seems to only encompass the 2 major events, the 8 weeks post 4 September and the 8 weeks post the 22nd of February. And I'm sure the Minister will want to get his officials to rapidly inquire as to, or provide him with an explanation in the committee stage, because it does seem to us to present a slight anomaly. It is appropriate that this bill exempts employers and others who have been generous and perhaps paid over the odds in terms of some income, or made some in-kind donations or support to employees and others in respect of the 2 major events. However, I am sure there are employees who have, and others who may well have been impacted or suffered as a result of the 3rd or possibly 4th, if it is, recognised earthquake event. And it would seem to me, in terms of consistency but also logic, that this bill apply to those events. Now, it may be, given that there is, as I understand it, a future-proofing clause in the legislation to allow for the Commissioner of Inland Revenue to trigger these provisions for future events, perhaps, for instance, like the Napier floods, had they been of a significant proportion, or indeed, as I said before, the tornado in the North Shore, had it been of a significant proportion, that this legislation in the future could be triggered. The question, though, is why aren't those other official events contained within the bill, or is there some provision, and if the intent is to do that, and that's been missed through misadventure or whatever, or a slight oversight, will the provisions be amended by the Minister to ensure that those other events are catered for? Likewise, it could be the case before this legislation is passed. We don't wish this on anybody, that there is an unofficial event. They seem to be quite regular, the jolts that we get in Canterbury, and we just want some assurance as to why those other historic events haven't been included. There are some other issues in this legislation in respect of the some technical points that will also be raised in the committee stage. I'd be interested to know as to the number of people the likely projection, if there is such, if we know or we can make a projection, the likely number of people who will be positively affected by this. I'd be also interested to know what level of declaration is required by businesses who, I can give an analogy which may assist those of the Minister who I'm sure is listening. In Rangiora we had a group called the Rangiora Express, who sort of materialised. It was like Rangiora's my own patch, like Rangiora's own Air Force. A couple of fantastic chopper pilots emerged out of the ether under the stewardship of one Jane Rattray and a number of other people. Jane is a local in that area, and decided they wanted to help people after that 22nd of February quake. A large number of donations were made by a number of organisations, and I know also that a number of companies to their own employees made a significant number of in-kind donations. Now, what we would like to know is what sort of accounting processes have to be put in place in order for those issues to be addressed to satisfy the requirements of this Act. Because whilst I note that this is an attempt to cut down red tape, businesses may be in a position where they don't have, through possibly the effects of the natural disaster, the ability to account for those goods and services, in respect of GST, in respect of income, etc. So that needs to, I think, be addressed perhaps more properly in the committee stage, and also issues in respect of advertising and promotion to make what is going to be done to make commercial organisations aware that this exemption, if you will, or this facility will exist, and what guidance will be provided to organisations, given that we're not in a business as usual period, so that they can appropriately
I'm sorry
respond.
to interrupt the honourable member. Honourable members, the time has come for me to leave the chair and the House for the evening meal. This sitting is suspended, and I shall resume the chair at 7 p.m. this evening. Haere rā, ka kite anō, good evening.